Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, Soul Nation. Today we're diving into the world of Valheim, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for getting started in this game, especially with the focus in on playing this game with a controller. If you have any questions after this video, leave them in the comments below. I'm here to hopefully help, and I'm looking forward to your thoughts on this game. I am in love with it. It is truly magnificent, and hopefully I'll give you guys an updated opinion and review on this game much later as I continue my adventures. But to help ease you into this world, because this game doesn't hold your hand, hopefully this video helps, and if it does, be sure to give it a like, and if it doesn't, be sure to hit that dislike button. That will let me know how I did, and hopefully you get something out of this. Now, for just knowledge and your own edification in this case, each world of Valheim is actually completely randomized based off of your world generation seed. So note that your experience, your world might look different from what you see in this video, as well as each time you start or join a friend's game. So just keep that in mind, that there's going to be different experiences when it comes to playing this game overall. So hopefully that is a bit of information. It's exciting to see. The replay on this, the gameplay on this is truly fantastic. But anyhow, if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope that you do. But other than that minor call to action, just note that you can always jump to any section of this video to kind of get the information that you want. So feel free to use the chapter selection in the bottom playhead of YouTube, so that way you can hopefully find the information that you need the fastest without having to waste time on these lengthy intros. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so let's go ahead and first start off with our basic controller layout. Now, I'm using an Xbox controller, so I'm going to use the terminology. So if you're using a PlayStation controller, just feel free to translate any of the buttons. So I'm showing the controller here just to give it the best kind of layout and tell you exactly how I am functioning with it. Now, overall, moving around with the left stick and the right stick should be fairly straightforward, but essentially pressing A is, in this case, is going to interact with various objects. You can see here I'm interacting with the workbench. I can open my chest, things like that. Now, it's going to show the E key, which is essentially what your keyboard key is. So just note, keep in mind, that is going to be how that overall functions. So your A is going to be your general interact. If you want to sit down and rest, you can press the X key. This is going to have your character rest, and you can see different kind of buffs in the upper right hand corner right under the camera itself. But at the core of it, note that we'll be diving more into buffs and how you play this game here in just a little bit. Moving the controller will take you out of your rested stance. B is going to act as a jump, and the more you jump, the better your jump level is going to be. So the more you do things, the better you're going to get at it. And then Y is going to be your inventory menu. Now you can navigate your inventory menu using the left stick, like in the left stick here, you can see me interacting. I can move things around by pressing A to interact with them. You can see here everything in the 1, 2, 3 through 8 slot. Those are going to be obviously things that you can equip and use in the game. Now it's going to show the number as a part of the keyboard, but if I go ahead and back out, I can use the left and right on the D-pad to pick a weapon that I want. Let's say I want to bring out the bow and arrow. I can press up to equip it. I can press up again on the D-pad to de-equip it. So let's say if I want to bring up my build menu, equipping my hammer, and then it's going to see a whole new menu down here in the lower right hand side where you see right stick or right trigger place, left trigger kind of rearrange. So if I hold down left trigger, I can use the right stick to kind of move and position things accordingly. Pressing up will unequip the hammer and thus take me out of the build mode. Same thing kind of for the axe, same thing for the bow, knife, and torch. So if I just put up on the torch, you can see that I can equip it. Now, just as a pro tip, we'll cover again more of these here in a bit. You can always go to your workbench and you can always repair your items by pressing down on the right stick. This is going to, like when you go over here, you press R, it's going to repair anything that needs repair. Repairs don't take any materials, so repair and repair often. That way you don't find yourself out in the wilderness looking for, ended up not having what you need, the tool you need, the weapon you need at the time when you're out venturing. So that's the A, B, X, and Y tools themselves. Now, if I press the left trigger, nothing's equipped. I'm going to go into a block mode. If I press the right trigger, I will punch. Now, if I go ahead and pull, let's just actually exit my house so I don't end up destroying anything in my house. With a weapon equipped or a tool equipped, I can press right trigger and I can start to farm on a tree in this case, or if there was any kind of enemies around, I can do so accordingly. Now, that is the right trigger and the left trigger actions. If I press the left bumper, I'm going to sprint. And the more you sprint, it's going to use stamina. And with that, it's going to also then help level up your sprinting function. So just keep that in mind with the right bumper. Same thing it goes when I try to jump when I'm all out of that. It's not going to necessarily work that well for me. Now with the weapon at hand, you can see here I can actually hold left trigger to block, and then I can press B to dodge roll. So this is going to be important from getting out of attacks. Boars will like to charge you, bosses will like to try to attack. This is going to be more of a defensive maneuver, but you can see here it burns your stamina as well. So keep that in mind and you will be just fine and dandy. Now, occasionally the game is going to remind you that you need to eat something. So you press Y to pull up your inventory, and then you can navigate to various food items. Now here I have some cooked meat. I'll show you how to cook some meat here in just a minute. I also have some berries, and I have some neek legs, in this case grilled neek tail. These are 3 things that I can actually eat and refresh. And you can see my food down in the lower left-hand side. Food is going to increase my health regen. It's going to increase my stamina regen. And this is very important overall with the game itself. But if I am wet or if I'm cold, this is going to only hurt me and hurt my survivability because it's going to reduce that chance for those things to recover on their own. It's just going to make them a little bit slower. So if you're rested, if you're comfortable, you're going to perform better. If you're cold, you're wet, you're miserable, you're going to perform much worse. Now you can see here I've got a couple of fire pits when this tool has a way that I can cook any different items. I currently don't have anything that needs to be cooked, but you can always run up to and press A, and if there's anything that can cook over an open pit, you can do so. Here I've also built a hearth, excuse me. This is going to allow me to actually have some warmth, keep a fire going, and the fact that I'm ventilating the smoke will allow the fire to continue on even in the rain. If it was raining right now, these 2 fire pits over here would go out. You're going to have to occasionally supply these fires with wood. You can see here if I hover over them, I have fuel of 10 of 10, and in this case I have fuel 10 of 10 over here. Let me go see how this one is doing. And I have fuel 1 of 10. So at some point this fire is just going to become ashes, and you're going to have to refuel it with wood. So if you have wood in your inventory, you can just press A to interact with it, and you're going to feed it plenty of fuel to keep burning. So that way, if you get cold, you can warm yourself up. It's a very good and well safe thing. If you die in the world of Valhalla, or not Valhalla, Valhalla, just note that you will drop everything that you have. So it's important that as you build, you're going to want to have a chest. That way you can store different items to make it a little bit easier for you to get back to safely when that happens. So before we continue on, I want to show you just a little bit of basics of combat. You can see here I found a deer. I can press down on the left stick to go into a sneak mode, and you want to pay attention to your map. There's an arrow pointing on the map, which is going to designate which way the wind is blowing. So you don't want to approach animals whenever like you have the wind basically at your back, because that's going to give them the insight that they need to be able to run away. They're going to be able to smell you, and there's an enemy up here on the left-hand side. Maybe we'll get a couple bits of combat in. So I can sneak up to this enemy, and I can go ahead and attack him and get a good kill. Now there's another enemy over here. Again, I can kind of dodge like we showed off earlier, and I can go ahead and right trigger to attack them all the way down, and they're going to drop some loot, so you'll see them explode. You just want to make sure you run up to that and make sure you collect all the things that the different enemies and animals drop. Again, as a part of hunting, look for that arrow so that way you give yourself the best chance of getting your prey, as opposed to if you approach them and they are going to be able to smell you, they will run away. So this is very important. Hopefully that is a good tip in terms of survivability, and hopefully that gives you some insight in terms of combat. Now finally, as you explore the world, you can press the select button to bring up the world map. And you can see it here. Pressing the left trigger and the right trigger is going to zoom in and out. And this is a big place. This is a big world for you to explore. And it's going to tell you essentially, as in this case, it's got the first boss marked on my my map here, so to speak. So you can see a couple things. You can see where my respawn point is via the bed. You can also see kind of where that circle of stones is that you spawn in, and as you go and discover more, you're going to be able to find obviously more and more things. So if you ever get lost and you're trying to find your way, just note that you can press that select button and pull up your main map to be able to find exactly where you need to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about your first days in surviving in this world. So overall, when you first spawn in, you're not going to have any weapons or any items possible. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to run around, and you're going to either want to beat up on some trees or kind of find any loose branches. So essentially you see yourself punching until the tree itself falls. I would not recommend working on any of the big trees because it just should show you that you're doing 2 damage. With the tree going down, you're going to end up collecting some wood. So just go ahead and find some small trees to go ahead and break apart, and then that way you can start picking up some wood and you can start doing your first couple of crafts. If you pull up your inventory menu, and you could press the left bumper and the right bumper to navigate the different panes, you can see your crafting materials. In this case right now, I could craft a club, a torch, a stone axe, and a hammer. You're going to want to craft a hammer and you're going to want to craft a stone axe. You can see here that I've got 1 stone as a part of my inventory, but overall it's going to require that I have 2 or 4 stone more to go ahead and create these items. So to find stone, you're just going to want to run around and look at the ground and find little bits of stone that you can break up and you can go ahead and collect. So you can see stone, pick up, and that's going to give me another piece of stone. So just keep running around the wilderness, gathering wood and gathering stone until you have enough to craft a hammer and an axe. And so let me go and show you guys the axe itself that I've got crafted. This is going to make it much easier. You saw me kind of beating up on the trees with my fist. Obviously, this makes it much faster to gather the material. Now, if you go and try to take this hammer to like a piece of stone or a boulder, it's not going to work. You're going to need something much stronger than I have currently in the game at the moment. You can still go and attack these big trees, but watch out, they will fall down on top of you, and it will take a little bit, but you will use these trees to help leveling up your axe skill. This is very important, especially as you play. It's going to allow you to do much more. Just watch that as the tree falls and where the log ends up rolling. You have to continue to beat up on the logs, or these enemies that decide to run up out of nowhere when you're making a guide. And they drop resin so you can make torches, so don't feel bad about defeating up the greylings in this case. Anyway, so you can build up, and then when you knock down the trees for the logs, you can break up the logs for more, and then they're eventually going to reward you with lots and lots of wood, which is important because you're going to need that wood to go ahead and craft up more and more items. If you're ever struggling to run up a hill, just make sure you're holding down the left bumper again to make sure that you're doing more. All right, let's go ahead and put away our axe and build up our build menu. So using the hammer, when you craft a hammer, this is going to be how you actually build different things within the game. You can see here I've got kind of a crude house, and currently I do not feel rested anymore. This is going to be important because you're going to want to build yourself a nice little place with a roof, some warmth, and a bed, so that way you can have that. You're also going to want to essentially build a workbench. We'll cover what that looks like here in a minute. So with the hammer, pressing A will actually bring up the main menu. You'll have a miscellaneous tab, a crafting tab, a building tab, and a furniture tab, which you can use the left bumper and the right bumper to navigate accordingly. Now, within there, you use the left stick. So in this case, where you can do a repair of your different items if you need to. Or in this, let me just go ahead and build up the build menu. You can see here I can build a campfire, which is going to require stone and wood. I can build a pile of wood. I can build a pile of stone. Or in this case, I can build a raft. The more that you craft, the more that you gather, the more that you kill, the more that you farm. You're leveling up and you're going to get more of these recipes. So if you're curious about your raft, just note that it's just going to be a matter of time. So continue to craft, gather, and build. So under the crafting here, I can put out a cooking station, and this is going to allow you to cook meat, which is going to be a really good source of food. You can see here it's almost time for me to refresh my food as well. I can build different building pieces, floors, walls, doors, double doors, ladders, roofs, hatches, poles, it's not necessarily, and I'm not a Minecraft player, so I know it's not as deep as what Minecraft might offer, but it's very cool. And the game and the rules of logic apply. So if you put smoke and you do not ventilate it, your character will die from smoke inhalation. Just be very careful when it comes to where you put your fire and how you ventilate your home. And then finally, you have furniture. Right now, you can see here I can build a bed, a sign, a torch for light, a deer rug. Why would you put a deer rug? Well, this is going to increase your comfort level when resting in the game itself. Comfort level improves the overall amount of time that your buffs are going to last on you when you sleep for the night. So it's very important how that plays out. Now you can see here, I've already also got a workbench. So if I go ahead and put away my tool, I can actually press and use my workbench. And here you can see here, I can now craft more options. This is where you can start to craft armor and weapons and more. So here eventually you get the crude bow. How do you get this? Go kill boars. You're going to need the leather straps from boars and wood to be able to do so. Again, remember to down click or right click the R3 button to repair all your items so you don't have to worry about it. overall, you're going to get an upgrade menu, and you can see here that you're going to be able to start to upgrade these things once you hit a certain crafting level in this case too. So these are my level 1 crafts, and then as the stars go, that's going to represent different tiers of weapons and armor. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you wanted to transfer things, like you can see here, I've got a nice little chest. I can move things to and fro. Let's say I want to move these mushrooms to the chest. I can press A to pick up the mushroom. I had to press the left bumper to move them down in here. And so you just kind of left bumper, right bumper to move to the different menu items here on your interface. And that way you can transfer, you can move things around, and you can, honestly just manage the game the best way that you can. And finally, let's go ahead and bring back up our build menu. You can see here a color denotion. This is going to represent the overall integrity of the item itself. You can see here green is a good sign. As it gets into yellow, you're going to see yellow being a little bit weaker, and red is saying it's basically going to fall no matter where you put it. So let's go ahead and switch off the deer rug, and let's actually go to a building material. Let's say I build these walls. So green is a good sign. That means it's going to be sturdy and solid as a rock. Let's see if I can get it to say yellow or red. Yellow, you can see here down at the bottom, it might just fall over. As you build, and you kind of hold left trigger to and use the right stick to kind of navigate and move and place the different items themselves. So if I want to kind of build an extra wall right here, it should start to snap in place and allow me to do what I want it to do. There it goes, snap in, right trigger, build, and there is my additional wall. So pay attention to the color coding that they offer. You can see here that structural integrity is important, and that is currently floating up in the air. So pay attention to how you're building and more. Now, eventually you're going to get access to a hoe. This is going to allow you to start to level and play around with the actual design of the earth that you're on. So if you're sitting here struggling, a lot of grass, beautiful scenery, and you're like, hey, I need to work on trying to kind of have a level ground to build my house on. You can see here my earlier attempts did not do so well, but if we go to other houses that I've got, they are definitely much more solidly and strongly built than this. Now, those are my tips. That's kind of what I recommend as a part of getting started in this game and how you use the controller. Hopefully this has been a help. If it has, be sure to leave a thumbs up. If it isn't, be sure to leave a thumbs down. It helps me kind of inform me on how I'm doing and what I can do better. Always looking forward to your thoughts, comments, questions in the comments below. And hopefully I will see you in my next video. But for Ginger Prime, my name is Brian. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you have a fantastic day, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. But until then, take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.